Jack. He started to weave himself into this game in this quarter, and he just might stamp himself some more with that kick.
Kieren's one of the most determined players probably at our footy club.
Jack just powers on.
He's pretty intense about his footy. He really prides himself on preparing well and playing well and taking on the best players in the competition.
I think he's got the balance of an AFL player and the courage and the toughness and the hardness of a rugby league player.
Got a really good understanding of the game. He's able to walk into your office and know what he did well and what he needs to improve on, and he's able to nail it most times, and I think that's what's led to him being a pretty good player.
Jack running on it with Young. This is big. This is really big. It's a dead set massive moment.
Pretty good player, says John Longmire. Wash your mouth out, horse. He's a champion and he's with us on the couch. Welcome to you, Kieren.
Thanks, Jared. Mike, who is he?
I said you're one of the great sporting stories, and I think the fact that your dad was such a great player of rugby league makes you, given that you're the captain of the Sydney Swans, to me, a fantastic story, and it's great for you to come down and hopefully share a bit with it. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
You've come to the Swans at the right time. The midfield is chock full, and you're now the captain. It must have been an enormous honour for you to get that nomination.
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of came from left field a fair bit. John spoke to me and said that Goodsy was going to step aside and hinted the idea of being co-captain alongside Macca. The thing for me is that I don't feel like I've sort of been left alone. I think the leadership group at the club, there's 8 or 9 players in there that are really leaders in their own right, and I can learn off them. And
yep.
It's been good so far. Our midfield has got a lot of depth in it, and we're heading in the right direction.
Jared mentioned your father Gary, a huge figure in rugby league. What attracted you to AFL, and what was the reception when you got home and said you were playing the game from down south?
I was about 12. I was in year 6, and it was an Auskick clinic came to my school, and we trialled the basic skills out and sort of went from there. I mean, I was rugby league player through and through. I loved it, but it wasn't until I gave it a go, and I didn't know a lot about it, but I loved the skills, and you had to be fit to play, and really the passion grew quite quickly. I continued to play on for rugby league, that is, for a few years, and played the 2 on the weekends, and at 15 I decided that AFL was the path I was going to go down, and the reception was interesting from Dad. Mum loved the game. Dad probably thought I'd play for a year and then come back, but it certainly wasn't to be, and I'm pretty glad I stuck with it.
Your mum's getting a bad rap though, isn't it? Gary gets all the accolades, but quite simply, I think your mum has given you the genetics that you need for our game. Donna was a great netballer, a great basketballer, she was a volleyballer and a pretty good sprinter, and you've got all those skills.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. My dad was, he was talented. He'll tell you he wasn't the most talented player playing rugby league. He had to work really hard, and he was very disciplined. I've probably got that sort of side from him, but Mum was a talent in her own right. She played state basketball and was a sprinter, and injuries sort of cut her sporting career short. But she went into a field of nursing, and she sort of gets left behind the rest. They all think it's Dad, but it's not the case.
Kieren, massive battle in New South Wales for the hearts and minds of kids like you were when you were making your mind up. Did the rugby league people try to prevail upon you, or was your father keen to channel you into rugby league? Because you're a massive plus for the AFL in New South Wales.
Yeah, not really. I mean, my dad was happy with no matter what I was doing, as long as I enjoyed it, and that was the main thing. He saw the enjoyment that I had playing AFL and the passion, and he was very supportive of me. He's been very supportive of my other 2 brothers as well. Reece, my other brother, stuck with the rugby league path. Only gave it up last year, but for me, it was all about enjoyment. He let me make the decision, and it was AFL, so that's how it happened.
I mean, terrific family. I mean, Gary and Donna are always at the footy, and Reece was there the other night, and obviously Brandon, will touch on him later on. I mean, great family. They come down and support the boys. It's fantastic. But, I mean, people that probably watch you now as we see your brother, I mean, what a thrill to play with him in the first game. I suppose people that watch you now maybe think, he's a natural footballer, but it was pretty hard when you first arrived at the club as a New South Wales rookie. It certainly wasn't easy, and Brandon's probably going through something similar now as a New South Wales kid. Probably had the luxury of a bit more of the academies training and that, but I mean, it was pretty hard for when you first arrived at the club as a New South Wales rookie selection.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I said before, I probably spent 2 or 3 years on the Swans list catching up to the rest of the players, and the skill level and what it took to be an AFL player. Brandon's come in. He's been impressive. You know, in the 6 months he's been at the club, he's really impressed a lot of people, and his improvement's been tremendous. You know, the academy I think helped definitely. If it had been around, you know, when I was growing up, it would have probably fast-tracked my development too. So yeah, it was great. A really special moment for the family on the weekend, and to be co-captain and run out alongside him. Very proud moment.
Well, what were the things that captured you in AFL? I mean, you mentioned you played in the Oz Kick. I think it's the Paul Kelly Cup now they call it, and there's probably something named after you as well. Everyone gets a name up in Sydney. There's the Kieren Jack Development Program.
It's a Paul Roos medal, I think, isn't it?
But what was the thing that really attracted you to the game itself? Because I mean, it was a big step, you know, moving away from league, but just the initial attraction of the game.
Yeah, it was. I think AFL footy, it's a sport that encompasses a lot of sports into one. You know, I loved playing all kinds of sports as a kid, but for me, it had the kicking skills, still had tackling. I really enjoyed the tackle, obviously playing rugby league, but you had to be fit. You know, I was a bit of a late developer as well growing up, so that's sort of getting bashed around and playing league, and you're up against some big kids in the underage competition. So yeah, it was a bit of everything, and the passion just, as I said, it went pretty quick.
Who taught you how to kick? When we have kids who have grown up with a Sharon and been able to kick it from when they're 3, and they've got flaws, you've learnt it, and you're a beautiful kick.
Yeah, well, it wasn't my old man, I'll tell you that.
No, but where did that come from though? Because it's a great skill of yours.
That was probably one of the areas that he wasn't great at, and I think Brett Ellison did a lot of work with Kieren. But certainly as a New South Wales kid coming in, it was one of the things that was really holding you back, wasn't it, your kicking?
Yeah, I had very much like a round the corner style rugby league kick. Had to get it out of my game pretty quickly. And Brett Ellison, who was you know, the coach at the time and development up at the Swans, he spent a lot of time with me doing extra hours, doing extra kicking. As I said, I spent a few years catching up. It was a lot of extra hours on the track and really trying to fine-tune my game.
The thing that stands out about the Swans midfield is basically all elements of the game are ticked off on. You play three-way footy. You all get plenty of contested ball. You all kick goals, and you're all involved heavily in tackles. Looking at your name there, you've got 80, so you're obviously getting paid per tackle down there, but it is a really fascinating element and an important element to the Swan strength.
Yeah, it's one of the things we really value as a midfield group, you know, the ability to play two ways. You know, we transition, we like to get down, help defence, tackle hard, and then once we've got the ball, it's go the other way as hard as you can. And if you're not prepared to do it, you won't get a game in the midfield.
Kieren, we saw a massive improvement in Lewis Jetta last year, and the explanation was that John Longmire assigned him to you during summer training, and he did every drill with you. Is that right?
Yeah, he did do parts of it. Yeah, I think it was a good learning curve for Lewis. He was very good offensively, being able to run down the wing, but he got done on transition a few times, and that would hurt the team. So it was a work rate thing for him. It took him a little while, but he really bought into it, and he followed me around, and yeah, he's turned into a pretty good player.
And talking about the transition, Mike was talking about Gary Ablett, and we were talking about it in the break, but I mean, part of your development was playing on those great midfielders. I mean, just talk through some of those roles that you had and how difficult it was, and some of the great players you're able to play on and still play on.
And make sure you say Ablett's good, all right?
Yeah. He's the toughest I've played on, so yeah, I mean, Ruzzi, you started that. I mean, defensive tag, I played on some of the best, you know, Ablett, Judd, Cousins, you know, played on Ackermanis in my first game, a pre-season game, and really just followed them and took notes and tried to stop them. And my learning as a player probably grew from there. I was able to pick up bits and pieces of what they were doing around stoppages and what sort of patterns they were running to find the footy, and being able to sort of implement that into my game now while still having a defensive aspect to it.
Why don't you show some vision of Jesse White? I focused on Jesse White critically a couple of times last year. I think he's a huge talent, but has never worked hard enough, and yet saw him in the NAB Cup, and I thought he's a jet set chance this year. Something seems to have clicked with Jesse White, and his work rate does appear to me to have gone to another level.
Yeah, he had a really good pre-season, Jesse. He probably realised his career was at the crossroads. You know, the problem for him is he's played some really good football in our reserves, but hasn't been able to come in and do it in the seniors. I think the really positive sign for him on the weekend was he showed some really good glimpses, and his career's on the line and he's playing desperate, which is great to see.
Just quickly, Gerard played with Barry Mitchell. You're now playing with his son Tom. He's come in with a bang, hasn't he? And we've always heard he's a massive talent. Tell us a bit about him.
Yeah, there's been a lot of hype around Tommy. It's probably taken him a couple of years to really figure it out. He's had some injuries, had some pretty bad injuries, and we all knew he could hunt the footy. That was his go. He could really hunt the footy, but as I was saying before, with the transition, he really had to learn that other side, that defensive side, to be able to come in the Swans midfield and do that. I think on the weekend he had 31 posies and 10 tackles, which is great. So I think he's ready to make his mark on the club, absolutely.
How do you feel in the rest over the weekend?
Good question, Jared.
Get a few days off?
Yeah, we are. We had our meetings on today. We had half-yearly meetings, and we're not required until Saturday. Saturday morning we've got a training session, so a few of the boys have gone home, a few are staying in Sydney.
A few peaches, some beers?
No, I'm not having what you had before. I saw that in the other room.
I saw him holding a bag of clinkers outside before.
Well, it's been great to have you down, Kieren. It's a fantastic story, and let's hope it's back-to-back for the Sydney Swans, and you can get up and share the cup.
Thanks, guys.
Good on you,
Thanks, Kieren.
Kieren Jack, our special guest. A bit more to come on the other side of this. You're watching On the Couch.